Another Raw video from your boy Draft Raw, and if you've been following me, I have been doing the 32 for 32 series. That is 32 NFL teams drafts for 32 straight days. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills. Now, why am I talking about the Buffalo Bills? It's because of right now, I'm doing the whole AFC East. I've already done the Patriots in the previous video, and now I'm doing the Buffalo Bills. I've also have done the NFC North and the AFC North, and I've also done the NFC East, and that's why I'm on the AFC East. So if you want to see those videos, you can look in the description box below, and you'll be able to see those videos. If you want to know what team or what videos are coming up next, I put it in the description box below where it explains what divisions I'm going to be doing next and which ones I'm going to be doing last. So, and then when it comes to the teams, basically it's going to be ranked by the first video for the division is going to be who won the division or who was the better team. So even if, let's say, even if your team didn't win the division, but they went further in the playoffs than another division team, then I would do the team that went a little bit further in the playoffs before I went to the other team. But it will be going from the best team to basically the worst team. So obviously the last team I'm going to do for the AFC East will be the Miami Dolphins. And the next video after the Bills will be the Jets. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. With the very first pick in the second round, the Buffalo Bills drafted A.J. Epenesa. Now, I have to say that A.J. Epenesa is one of my favorite pass rushers in this draft. One of my favorite edge guys in this draft. He played at Iowa, and in Iowa, he's normally one of the, you're talking about the rough and tough team of the Big Ten. Someone even said, I believe that Mike Daniels, he was talking about Marshall Yonder, who also played at Iowa. And they say all they do is play football and lift weights. And when you watch A.J. Epenesa, that's pretty much what you see. You see a very strong, very strong defensive end. He's about 6'4", 6'5", 270 pounds, almost 280 pounds. He doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, but he has a pretty good get-off. And he has the pass rushing moves. He loves using his technique. He loves using his hands. And one of his best traits is being able to take him and putting him on the inside as like a 3 technique and like a 4-3 and be able to rush the passer then. If the Buffalo Bills are going to be running a 3-4 type of style of defense, to me, he will make a perfect 5 technique. It's basically a defensive end in a 3-4 defense right over the tackle, which is technically, to me, because that's technically inside to me, I still call it a inside defensive tackle type of player, but because he is playing over tackle, it is still considered an edge. That's what I think that his best play is going to come from. Is if the Buffalo Bills are running a 3-4, that's where it should be. If they're running a 4-3, I think that he should be a strong side defensive end. Maybe you put him on a weak side sometimes, but on the certainly passing downs, he's the type of edge guy that you put on the inside and have him rush for the inside, and he is a tremendous inside rusher. If he was just a defensive tackle in this draft, he would be the best pass rushing inside defensive lineman in this draft. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Ed Oliver in terms of explosiveness and quickness from the inside. And on the outside, like I said, he's a technician, and he's still going to be able to get to the quarterback. And the biggest thing I loved about him is that he was consistent. He had double-digit sacks last year. He had double-digit sacks this past season. This guy was a consistent player and was looked at as being a top 10 pick coming into the season, definitely before the draft season had started. And for whatever reason, maybe it was 40 time, maybe it was the lack of as much production. They was expecting him to really raise his game to a higher level. Maybe that was the reason why he dropped in the second round. But this is a guy that I'm a Ravens fan, and I wanted the Baltimore Ravens to draft him if they didn't get a guy like Kenneth Murray. They say, I'm not going to talk about that. But just anyway, this is a guy that I really coveted. And I think the Buffalo Bills got a really stout defensive end / edge guy in this draft. With the very next pick, they decided to go the running back route. Now, I was one of those guys where last year I said Devin Singletary was probably one of the better running backs in that draft class, and I honestly had him in my top two. I thought that he was just absolutely amazing, and I felt as though this year he showed, as a rookie, showed that he could be a bell cow, still be able to run the ball and be that starting running back. So when in the third round, when they chose Zach Moss, I was kind of a little taken back from it. And the biggest reason why is because I didn't think Zach was that great of a running back. I thought that he doesn't break most tackles, but is powerful. I think that just as a natural tackle breaker, he's not that type of guy. He's more of a guy that just kind of lowers his shoulder and get that power into it and be able to carry guys, but not like just a natural power quickness type of guy that's be able to break tackles. I felt as though sometimes he looks to always bounce to the outside. Not sometimes. To me, I felt like he did always bounce to the outside. That's a big thing for me when it comes to running backs is you do have to have the ability to bounce the ball to the outside, but you also have to be able to run up the middle. And that's one of those things where I was a little bit frustrated when I was watching Zach Moss from Utah, running back. He doesn't have elite speed, but he's a steady runner. I felt as though one thing I do like about running backs is if you can keep the same speed you had in the first quarter and the fourth quarter, I love that about you because you don't lose steam, and that's what shows a good bell cow type of running back. He can be patient, but sometimes too patient. I felt as though sometimes when the ball was handed off to him, he would try to sometimes look for the hole. If he didn't just straight up bounce it to the outside, he would look. But sometimes it was a little bit too patient, and it ended in tackles for losses or tackles where he gained no yards. And it's one of those things where, I was an up and down type of person when it came to Zach Moss in general as a running back. But, the Buffalo Bills, I do trust their scouting department. I do trust them. So we'll see what happens with Zach Moss. And if, maybe they just do a 2 running back system with Moss and Singletary. But I'm not the biggest fan of him, but it is still an okay pick, especially at the value that you're getting Zach Moss at in the third round. Next, they drafted in the fourth round Gabriel Davis, wide receiver from UCF. He reminded me of Torrey Smith a lot. Like I said, I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, so I kind of know what I'm talking about when I say Torrey Smith. Now, he's bigger than Torrey Smith, so that's, just take it out. He is bigger. I felt as though a lot of times he was a hands catcher, especially when it came to over the top throws, long deep balls. Got some strength to him, and one of his best things that he was able to do was stack. And stacking is just the ability to get in front of the defender, but literally the defender being directly behind you, not the defender being off to the side behind you. Don't matter which side, but being directly behind you, being able to swipe the hand away and move yourself to go directly in front of the DB and be able to run fast and be able to catch the football. Because if a DB tries to stop you, most of the times when you do that, you stack, it causes pass interference because the DB all of a sudden has to get his hands over you to try to stop it. Or in situations, he'll try to trip you up, grab at your ankles and try to stop you from going deep down the field and making a big play. And so that's the good thing about Gabriel Davis, which, Torrey Smith was really, really famous in doing. That's why I thought that they were both similar. So to me, it's a good, solid pick. I don't know, receiver-wise, I probably would have tried to look somewhere else in terms of trying to get maybe a big body for him when you have Stephon Diggs already. I would have looked at trying to get a bigger body for him. And Davis is a bigger body, but he's not that big body type of receiver. So it's one of those things where I'm up and down on it. But once again, it's good value and a solid pick for the Buffalo Bills if they're trying to build a certain type of offense. With their very next pick, they chose quarterback from Georgia, Jake Fromm. I think Jake Fromm is just absolutely trash. Absolutely just trash. I don't like him. I don't like him, honestly, because I think that when it came to big games and when it came to him, how can I explain this? It's a hard thing to explain. he should have been a better quarterback in college than what he was. I felt as though he never dominated and he never took over a game. And to being a franchise quarterback, and not to say you're not drafting him to be a franchise quarterback, but when you're looking at quarterback, he just looks like a regular backup quarterback that I don't even know that you still want a franchise type of quarterback as your backup, because if Josh Allen was to get hurt, this is a guy that you can trust to put out there and be able to make big plays. So that was the whole big thing about him that I really didn't like about him. But you know, it is what it is. They chose a guy that they felt as though they wanted to get a young guy that they could put at quarterback that they know they can have for at least 4 years if he does turn out to be solid for them. And they basically just have a backup for Josh Allen. With the very next pick, they chose a kicker. I don't know his name. I don't care to know his name. I do not watch kickers. I don't really give a crap. And not to say I hate kickers or anything like that. There's no point in watching a kicker kick. Like, even the most accurate kicker in college football history was terrible in the NFL. Like, there's no point, to be honest with you. With that very next pick in the 6th round, they chose wide receiver from Oregon State, Isaiah Hodgins. Now, he's a good route runner. He can beat press, and he works the sideline really, really well. Those three big things really stood out for him to a point where I've kind of almost felt as though he may have been a little bit better than Davis. I think Davis just has an overall track record and overall more like a big playability type of guy. I felt as though with Hodgins, you know, him not being able to beat the press was a huge thing. But because he does have pretty solid speed, teams tend to back off, and then you back off, and then he shows his good route running skills, and then he knows how to work the sideline, and it just all works. But if he's in a situation where he's getting pressed, he is not going to be an effective receiver. And that's the reason why he's probably a 6th rounder anyway. It was a solid pick by him. And it's another big receiver, but it's not the type of big receiver I had tried to get for a guy like Josh Allen. And then with the very last pick, they decided to go defensive back, cornerback, Dane Jackson from Pittsburgh. I felt as though he was a little bit handsy. Doesn't create much separation, which is a good thing. Being able to prevent receivers from separating from him. He needs to play the ball better. Basically, he needs to turn his head. That's a big thing about a lot of corners. And the thing about Dane is Dane was the type of guy that he would just kind of look at the eyes or wait for the receiver to catch the ball before he tries to rip it out. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. In the NFL, that's not going to work all the time. And with him being so handsy, he's going to get called for pass interference a bunch. He needs to be able to use his natural hips and feet, his quick feet, because he doesn't create much separation. Receivers don't get a lot of separation. He needs to be able to use those techniques full effect and consistently to be a good player. But this is the thing I would say. Buffalo Bills, I really do trust them when it comes to defensive back, whether it's corners or safeties. And the reason why I say that is because they have a history of choosing really, really good, whether it's in the draft or free agency. They have a history for the last couple of years of now choosing really, really good defensive backs, whether safeties and corners for their team. So this is a guy that obviously they chose that could fit their team, but also a player that they feel as though, you know, in terms of how they actually rate guys, this is a guy that they felt as though could play for them and could be a really, really good player. I love them a lot because 2 years ago they chose Levi Wallace, who from Alabama, who I was a huge fan of, and I never understood why he went undrafted, but it is what it is. You know, and I thought he was better than Anthony Avery. You know what I mean? Like, they was both teammates, and Anthony, for whatever reason, was a higher rated player from a lot of media and even teams. But Levi Wallace was that guy, and he's shown with the Buffalo Bills. So anyway, that was the last pick in y'all draft. Once again, my name is Draft Raw. If you want to see future videos or past videos, like I said earlier in the video, look in the description box below. Please hit that subscribe button. Please share this video, and please hit that notification bell. And when you do hit it, hit all and not personalized, because it won't ding up a bunch of times because of the way it's set up and everything. But please hit all so you can get all notifications of what I do. Once again, my name is Draft Raw. I thank everybody for watching. Goodbye.